All right. So Miss Italy, they decided to ban transgender women from their competition. It's in response to the Netherlands, who crowned a transgender woman as Miss Netherlands. Now, Italy has been receiving a lot of backlash, but then they doubled down saying they don't want to, quote, jump on the glittery bandwagon of trans activism. Now, the winner of Miss Italy, Miss Netherlands, they usually go on to represent the country in their respective countries in the Miss Universe competition. And that's a big deal because it's one of the most prestigious beauty pageants in the world. So I got to ask, guys, should transgender women who were formerly men be banned from beauty contests? What do you guys think? Let's start with Gianni, because you've walked down a few modeling walkways. So what if you had to compete against women that used to be men now?
Quite a few I've been down. And it's so funny because I actually was competing for Miss Rhode Island as a teenager, like Miss Teen Rhode Island. Yeah.
Miss Teen Rhode Island, what?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Fun.
You might have won.
I didn't even, we'll speak about it later.
Okay, all right.
But no, I mean, this is different though, because I was going to liken it to the whole transgender in sports, but that was to me different because in sports, there is a biological advantage that they have. It's just totally different. In this scenario, it's a beauty pageant. So, I mean, may the best woman win. I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I personally think it's fair, but I also don't really like having too much of an opinion when it comes to transgender, and because I don't know too much about it, and two, I don't like to offend people. So I personally think it's fair because it's a beauty contest, like what you look like, what you're dressing like, with the creative artistic side of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets to their policies, because I know that they said you have to be born a woman. So if it gets into the policies and you're trying to go against that, like as a transgender, you're trying to fight that, I wouldn't be on your side. But I do think it's fair for them to
so you're for transgender women competing against transgender women or people who
I wouldn't
previously were men.
I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Robbie?
mind.
Well, let me preface it with this. This is the Miss Italy beauty pageant, not RuPaul's Miss Italy. And at the end of the day, I don't like, Johnny, I honestly don't like seeing biological females losing out on opportunities because of transgendered competition.
I am really surprised, Robbie.
There's a reason why women's competitions exist.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I mean, you likened it to sport. I mean, you talked about sport, and I'm going to circle back to that.
Yeah.
But can we just talk about beauty pageants as a whole?
Okay.
To me, it's antiquated. It relegates people to their physical appearance. Sure, there's a talent component to it, but come on. Let's be real. It's
basically
title, right?
You're saying it's basically tits and ass. Okay, I got you.
And a smile.
If there is an industry that grooms children, sexualizes them, and places them at risk, it's Hollywood. The pageant industry. The pageant industry is horrible. I'm all for inclusivity, Johnny. I'm all for inclusivity, and with that, I'm going to use that's my segue into the sports. Because just this week, the director of the General Olympic Council of Asia and Secretary General of the Kuwait Olympic Committee, Hussein Al-Musallam, announced that swimming will be set up as an open category that will include transgender competitors.
Oh, wow.
When you say
something we've talked about on the show.
Open. Oh, you say, so open meaning men and women.
And compete.
It's an open category, Neil.
I like that, actually. You don't like that?
So,
no, that's not fair.
See,
I love that.
So, no, it's absolutely fair, Johnny, because it's inclusive. What it does is it gives a platform for transgendered athletes to compete against their counterparts, their equal. Because
so men and women.
Yeah. So yeah. Women can choose to compete.
Okay, I get it.
Women can choose to compete, or they can choose not to compete. Men can choose to compete. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I was
exactly.
Confused.
You know, and that was going to be that was going to be what I was going to say about beauty pageants. It should be open. If you're going to have a beauty pageant, go ahead. I'm going to let you finish, Rob. I'll make my point.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and that's it. Like, just really with the swimming, they're just saying, like, the event is probably going to take place within this year. And it's a direct response to trans athletes like Leah Thomas, who are crushing their competition.
Sure.
But the whole thing of beauty pageants is, I just find really, like I said, it's antiquated. And I think that it is, at the end of the day, it's degrading, and it does groom and sexualize. It's not something that I'm cool with to begin with, but I'm cool with any organization saying these are the rules, and doubling down by saying we're not going to do this. We have to understand that perhaps our libertarian views aren't everybody else's, and we also have to accept that we can't project those beliefs on other people. They have to come around in their own due time.
I can't argue with your perspective, because in some ways I agree. But the way I look at it is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What is beauty? Beauty is what you decide it is, right? So if these judges think trans men are beautiful, trans women, are beautiful, then, and that is their definition of beauty, then who cares who they vote for? They can vote for whomever they want. Fine. They're in the competition. But like I was saying, if you're going to do this, though, if you're going to say, okay, we're going to have trans women competing with women, then why can't men also compete? What's the problem with that? If you're going to...
Because...
Go ahead, Rob. Yeah, what were you saying? Because what?
Isn't this... Because I think beauty pageants are supposed to be inspired of the woman...
What is beauty?
Ideal. The woman ideal.
And that's what Rob is saying, though. That's part of the problem, is that it's all about sexualizing women.
Yeah, it's not right. But you guys are arguing at the root of the cause. We're just talking about the game. Like, the root of it is, it's weird. It is weird as hell. It is weird because we don't have like a men's beauty pageant where men are just naked. No bodybuilders. Nope. Bodybuilding. That's one. That's like a beauty pageant. Yeah.
That's an example. But what I'm talking about, like that, there are models that don't have, male competition. They can't win Mr. I guess they have Mr. America's they do have Mr. America, but I think that's, like you said, the weightlifting. But there should be, if you're going to be inclusive, you can't be exclusive, right? So you can't exclude people. So, and that's the way I feel about the sports. Now the sports is a totally different thing, though, because there is just a physical advantage that men have over women, and that's just genetically a fact. And women have been fighting for years to just be able to be considered for sports. WNBA took forever, while the NBA was exploding, and there's other female sports and women's soccer, being considered. It took forever for them to be considered. And so now we're saying, okay, well, we're going to give it back to men. People who were formerly men, who may have the genetics of men. Now you're going to have to compete against them, right? So now that you've got this sport, now we're just going to, we're going to have you compete against people who were formerly men. It's not fair. It's not fair.
I don't think it's that deep. I think when it comes to the beauty pageants, leave it at the superficial door. Like, it's how you look. It's a superficial contest, so it makes sense that transgender women can compete. Like, I wouldn't be offended, but I would be offended if I was playing volleyball and there was a man who was against me that was, I would be so mad.
Formerly a man.
Like, why are you so strong? Okay,
But I agree with you.
This is a pageant that was this is a pageant, but a pageant that was created to crown the winner. Crowned was traditionally a biological female, and this opens a world of opportunity for her, for the next year, for her lifetime. And what I am vehemently opposed to is having these opportunities that were created for biological females being taken from them by someone who's transgender. And that's why like I said, inclusivity.
That's why it's hard for me to argue with you, Rob.
Open categories. having open categories where they can compete fairly.
That's true. That's a good point.
I'm very supportive. I'm like you. I'm supportive of trans and LGBTQ rights, but I agree with you. It's not fair, and I don't think there's a lack of fairness, because we're not. I mean, men and women are not created equal, actually, physically, and so.
Intentionally.
I mean, now if we're talking skin color, I mean that's just different melanin. I mean that's a minor difference, but when we're talking male and female, there's a major difference.
If we can look at the animal kingdom and acknowledge the differences between male and female of the species, I find it laughable that we can't do the same for ourselves. It's hypocritical and it lacks introspection.
Totally agree.
We both bring good stuff to the table. We're stronger together. That's
Absolutely.
how it works.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Yep. So sorry, Gianni, I'm on the fence. This is truth, lies, or shenanigans.
You know what? I think it's some truth. That's what I think.
Oh, now you're on truth. I think it's a little bit of shenanigans. I think it's a beauty contest. I'm torn. It's truth and shenanigans. I mean, it's a beauty contest. Whatever you find beautiful, whatever. Who cares? All right, let's get into our game show.